Courtney. And actually, this is her 5th year on the broadcast, and I've made a point to have her every year so that everyone who watches can keep up with her. Courtney, are you with us?
Hey, April, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous.
Excellent.
I feel amazing. I'm alive.
Well, I want to welcome you back to the show again. And I was just sitting here with the crew on break, and I was talking about the first time you joined. It was in 2016, and it was when we did Blab.
I was in the middle of chemo, so it was. I guess it was 20. I was trying to think too, but I think this is either my 4th or 5th, but I'm pretty sure it's 5th because the first year was Blab.
Yep.
And that would have been, right at the very beginning of 2016.
Right.
And I was right in the middle of just craziness with chemo and everything. Yeah.
Totally. And it was 2016. We've been doing this for 7 years. The first 2 years we used an online service called US Stream. This was before Facebook Live and anything else existed. And so we used that, and then the 3rd year we used Blab, so that was in 2016. And then you've joined us the last 4 years with Mr. Dave Curley here, really pumping up this show into a whole new level. Yeah, it's been so cool, man. So very cool. So when you were here in 2016, you were completely bald, and you were going through chemo. And I know you've told a lot of the same parts of your story on this show, but we got to let all the new viewers know about Courtney and how this all began. So take us back to when you were very first diagnosed. What led to your diagnosis of triple-negative breast cancer?
I got emotional watching your thing, so now I'm going to get emotional talking. So let's see. 2015, I was 35. It was the day before my 36th birthday that I was diagnosed with triple negative. I had another close friend who had just been diagnosed, and she was only 26. And I knew what this diagnosis meant. I knew how aggressive it was. I wasn't blind. I didn't go into this like not knowing what triple negative was. I kind of wish I would have, because I probably wouldn't have been so scared right at first. But I mean, honestly, it felt like a death sentence. Somebody was telling me that I was going to die any day. That's really how I felt. Yeah. And like I said, it was the day before my 36th birthday. I had found the lump 1 year prior, had gone in, had a mammogram done. I had seen a radiologist. I had talked to my OBGYN, gynecologist about all of this. And everyone just kept saying, it's nothing. It's nothing. I asked for a biopsy 2 different times and was refused. Wow. And I trusted these doctors, in my life. And, when I first found out, I kind of went through this like, oh my goodness, I'm mad, these doctors should have done something more. But, everything's in God's timing and his perfect timing.
Yeah.
And, I had to just say these people are human. They're human. And no matter how hurt I was, that I went an entire year with triple negative breast cancer, not knowing it.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have had to go through chemo. I probably could have just had a mastectomy and not done all the stuff that I had to go through. But that brings me to something really amazing, and that's that God put me into a trial, and that trial drug that I was given has been approved, and it's helping women
all
awesome. Over the world. So,
what was the name of that drug? Do you recall?
It was called veliparib, and it's actually a PARP inhibitor. And everybody who has PARP, everybody has PARP in their body. It's a protein that everybody produces, and cancer likes it. So cancer eats the PARP up, and it starts, feeding off of that. So if we can inhibit PARP, we can stop triple negative.
Wow.
So it's pretty incredible. There's some other cancers that are like ovarian and I believe colon, and stuff like that as well, that it's also being treated with PARP inhibitors. So it's pretty incredible drug. You know, the one that I'm on, I know it was on a fast track and it did get approved. And so they're definitely treating people with it now that have triple negative.
Right. And you, when you were diagnosed, you had stage 2, is that right?
Yeah, stage 2B. And the B had something to do with the size, I believe, because it was kind of on the larger size.
Right.
I think it was like 4.6, whatever. I can't remember if is it millimeter? I don't remember like the actual.
Right.
I know it was about the size of a golf ball because I could actually feel it.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
I mean, I could grab it and kind of move it around.
Oh, that's so creepy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
But that's when I was like, okay, this is not they were telling me I had fibrocystic breast,
Yes, right.
you know,
and
my mom suffers from that. So it wasn't really like, it wouldn't be something that I wouldn't have, but, you know, after, you know, getting into the research and stuff, they, you know, I was very, very fortunate and very blessed because the chemo was paid for because I went into the clinical trial.
Wow. That's okay. Gotcha. Wow. That is so crazy. That's really scary to have something that big inside you and you're just like, you know, trying to tell your doctors, you're like, hey, I need you to pay attention to this. And, you know, you're talking about it earlier and, you know, I know the doctors, I feel like they do their best, but I think it's to some degree, some of the times, you know, they see so many people, they just kind of get in this routine of this is how it goes. And to the point of you talking about having fibrocystic breasts, I think I mentioned this last year, maybe the year before, when I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, they didn't know that having fibrocystic breasts was actually a risk factor for breast cancer. They just at that time, 10 years ago, they thought it just made it harder to find breast cancer. So they started screening for me every 6 months because of my fibrocystic breasts. More recently, they've learned that having fibrocystic breasts is actually a risk factor for breast cancer. So you probably had fibrocystic breasts and they were just kind of unintended lumping you in with that. And there you go, right? And so
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, another good point to that, April, and just to kind of add on to what you're saying there is, you know, they did test me to see, you know, if I had the genetic mutation, if I was BRCA1 or BRCA2. I was BRCA1, and the gene actually comes from my dad, so he's actually the carrier. And being BRCA1, you also have a risk of getting ovarian cancer. Now, a really interesting thing, I had a hysterectomy because they told me that my chances of getting ovarian cancer after having triple negative breast cancer went up 80%. So when I had my hysterectomy, they told me, they said, oh my goodness, you had tons of cysts.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, and they did say at that time, because they kind of knew more now, like about cysts and having fibrocystic breasts or having cysts in your ovaries and, you know, just all of that can turn into cancer. I mean, you know, that grows and you don't get it taken care of. I mean, it can. So that's why it's so important, you know, for us to continue to get our checkups, to continue to go. I mean, and I'm not talking about just me as a breast cancer survivor. I'm talking about everybody, men, women, like continue to get your checkups, you know, for your colonoscopies, your mammograms, go to see your doctors. It's important because they can stop this stuff in its tracks.
Right.
If they can see it quick and, you know, I mean, it is treatable,
right.
You know.
And, you know, to your point, you know, we talk a lot about risk factors and knowing your risk factors is so important. It's so important to know what your risk factors are. There are all kinds of different things. You know, it could be fibrocystic breast. It could be not maintaining a healthy body weight is often a problem as well. Hereditary, like cancer in your family, you know, like whenever I think it was called like a genogram or something like that, whenever we did my genetic testing, where you fill out this thing that shows your family tree basically, and then you put what each person passed away from, and if they had cancer, you list what kind of cancer. And whenever we did that, we found all this cancer kind of further back on my dad's side. And, you know, after I was diagnosed, my dad's had prostate cancer and skin cancer since that time. So it's really important to know your risk and be familiar with that. There's a lot of really great websites out there for that. And like you said, if you know your risk, you can be ahead of it. You can be checking on things in advance and catch it early, which is, you know, what happened with me. So it's always really important to know your risk. And I'm glad that you're well in touch with that too, and you're staying up on everything and having everything checked out regularly. In fact, how often are you going in for checkups now? Do you still go for checkups?
Well, I still go for checkups, and I just graduated to the 1 year mark. So I was going every 3 months.
Really?
And then I switched to 6 months, and now I'm at once a year. And they did every 3 months for me because I was in that clinical trial. So that was kind of part of my trial.
That's
I'm in
what I was
it for
going to
10
ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in it for 10 years. So I think I'm right at my halfway mark with that. So
you know,
yeah.
When we talk about your clinical trial, I realized this when you were talking a second ago. We never really, I don't think, went into why you did a clinical trial. But if you hadn't had that clinical trial opportunity, you wouldn't have been able to do chemo. Is that right? Like it was going to be a massive. I mean, chemo is a massive expense, but
yeah. So I mean, I do makeup and hair for a living. I didn't have insurance,
right.
And my husband was working for he was a dental assistant at the time, and he worked just for a private practice that didn't really offer. It wasn't like a corporate, you know, a big corporation that offered, you know, insurance. We had insurance for our daughter.
Right.
We paid for insurance privately for our daughter, but we just always thought, we're fine. If we get sick, we'll go to the doctor, you know, like whatever.
Right.
So we did not have insurance for ourselves. And to be really honest with you, that wasn't the first thing that came to my mind whenever I was diagnosed. I just knew that I needed to save my life for my child and for my husband and for my family. And I was so young that I felt like I'm going to do whatever I can to fight this. And so, you know, obviously, you know, I turned to God and I prayed a lot about, you know, just my situation and everything that was going on. And in my very first meeting with my oncologist, they offered me the clinical trial.
Wow.
And I'll never forget.
That doesn't happen that I've heard of. Like I know so many people who've gone through breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer, and normally it's like I said, it's like okay, you have this. Here's the next step. It's not, hey, here's this clinical trial. I mean, I certainly wasn't offered a clinical trial myself. No,
I mean it was a total God thing, and it was exactly what I needed in my life because I didn't have insurance. Now, they didn't even really know me or know anything about my life or whether I was going to get insurance or not or anything like that. You know, luckily my husband, we did still need insurance. I mean, I had tons of stuff that was coming up with surgeries and, you know, all of that, but I got my bracket. There was the bracket testing was done. It was included in the clinical trial.
That's awesome.
All of my chemo was included in the clinical trial. However, funny enough, I still needed insurance for I don't know. You probably had those like the Neulasta shots.
Yes, that thing is expensive.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's like $10,000 a shot.
Yeah,
right?
I remember when I did it, it was $8,000 a shot, and and I got a total of 4.
Right, and so...
Well, hey, sorry, let me just, so that people aren't like, what in the heck are they talking about? So the Neulasta shot, and this is at least in my position, so I would take the Neulasta shot like a day or two after I had my adriamycin Cytoxin treatment, and it was because the Neulasta shot helps up your white blood cell count. Your white blood cells are what keep you from getting sick, and so that's why you're so much more susceptible to getting sick when you're on chemo, is because the chemo kills fast dividing cells, and your white blood cells are also fast dividing cells. And so you want to up the white blood cells so that you don't get sick. So that Neulasta shot would help those white blood cells to stay higher so you would be safer from getting sick. Go ahead.
Yeah. So by the time I got, this was in 2015, they had kind of like upgraded the Neulasta shot, I guess. But the crazy thing about the Neulasta shot is it causes extreme bone pain.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So
the worst.
they give you, they tell you to take Claritin for bone pain. Who knew? Claritin fix your sinuses, fix your bone pain all at once.
Wow. I didn't know that. They had me on Advil. Like I was taking like 20 Advil a day or something. Like I'm not recommending that. Let me be clear.
Right.
Under doctor's care.
Yes. Under doctor's care.
Right.
And they had me taking like Xanax and stuff like that just to get relaxed. And I went from being like the healthiest person, working out 7 days a week, not ever taking any type of medications, to just, I was so anti-drug, didn't want weird things. I mean, I would even like, I never wanted to take a Tylenol if I had a headache. I would just be like, whatever, I'll get through it.
Yeah.
And, I went from that to just being bombarded with, I always say, they bring you to the point of death almost to keep you alive,
Yeah, it's crazy. You're right. That bone pain was the worst. I want to just interrupt our conversation real fast to remind people, if we get 50 shares during this broadcast between now and 10 p.m. Central, we have an anonymous donor who's going to donate $500 to Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation. We are right now at 23 shares, so keep the shares coming. Just share it out, guys. We really, really appreciate that. You're doing a lot more than just helping raise $500 for triple negative breast cancer by sharing out this broadcast. You're also helping with education and awareness about triple negative breast cancer. We really want people to know more about this disease. It's a very rare and aggressive form of breast cancer. We want people to know their risk factors, and we want you guys to meet these folks and these warriors like Courtney here tonight. So we're really happy you're here and you're still partying with us. I had a question when you were talking earlier about the genetic testing, and I don't know if you'll know this answer, and I'll have to try to remember to ask Dr. O'Shaughnessy this if you haven't asked anyone. You have a daughter, like you said. When can she get tested? Do you know?
Well, I've actually asked that question. Pretty much, I think they can get tested really at any point. I mean, however, my oncologist suggested that I wait until my daughter is 18.
Right.
She said, really, it's mainly because why do you want to live your life being worried all the time?
You probably wouldn't want to do anything at this young of an age. I mean, at this young age anyway. I mean, I don't even know if you could. It sounds like a bad idea to me. I mean, it seems like waiting, would be better. But are you
like waiting for a bomb to go off? It's just not really something you want to be waiting around for. So, I mean, unfortunately, my child, she went through a lot with me. She, we didn't hide anything from her. And, bless her little heart. I mean, she had strep throat. She's had it 4 times this year.
Oh, gosh.
Struggling with that. And she said, Mama, do I have throat cancer? It's like, no, baby, you don't have throat cancer. I mean, but that's the kind of stuff that people don't realize, that you deal with when you've got a small child and you go through cancer. They see it, they worry.
Of course.
It affects them just as much as it affects you, if not more,
Right.
So, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that because they see you after and you've got your hair back and,
right.
If you're not like bald and looking horrible, they don't understand like the effects that after,
right.
Chemo and after cancer has on you and on your family and just the emotional impact that it has on your life. And, I'm kind of on the other side of it now. And, I don't think about cancer every day anymore.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yes.
I don't think about it every day anymore because for a while there I was like, how am I ever going to not think about this?
I know.
And now I'm living my life again and I feel good. I think I lived my life a little too happy right at first because I was like, I'm just going to eat what I want. I want to live, whatever. And now I'm on this other journey of my cancer where I'm trying to get really healthy.
Yeah, so awesome.
And so,
well,
because my
I think
oncologist is like, you got to keep your weight down. That's going to help, for reoccurrence purposes and,
exercise
just feeding
and all
your
that.
body full of goodness instead of just junk,
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
That's true. We didn't really touch on it the whole story, but what kind of surgeries did you have? Tell everybody about the surgeries that you've had.
Yeah, so I had a double mastectomy. I had expanders placed. I had a hysterectomy. Of course, I had a port placed as well before chemo. That's where they put the chemo. I think you can see see if you can see my scar there. These are my, war wounds.
Yes, dude, totally.
I don't want to show you anything else, but they're definitely they're
it's a
definitely
family show.
there.
Come on.
They're definitely there. But yeah, I had a sentinel node biopsy, which was right before, so I have the scarring from that underneath my right underarm. And that, it's interesting because that scar bothers me a lot. It's very sensitive.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. It just right in your armpit, there, and that's where they took, they did the node biopsy before they did the mastectomy.
Right.
So I had double mastectomy. Oh gosh, expanders placed, which helps to expand so you can have implants placed in later. Then had an exchange surgery, which is where they take, the expanders out and place implants in. However, I then had to have my implants replaced again because there was an issue with textured implants that came out about a year ago, and that textured implants were causing a rare breast cancer, so they replaced it with a smooth texture implant.
Yeah.
And then at that time, I had a little bit of a lift done as well because I was just uncomfortable. I went smaller in size. So I had my nipples moved up. I had a lot of reconstruction, and it's ongoing. I mean, that was just 8 months ago. So
wow. So
lots of times I wish I would have just been done with it, and not had anything. But I don't know. I went the route of implants, and I mean, I like them. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a much more common route to go. I mean, more people, I believe, have reconstruction than don't. And you and I have talked about it like a million times. I don't ever go out there saying, I didn't do reconstruction, but I'm not ever out there going, don't do reconstruction, because it is a very, very personal decision, and you have to live with it. You're the one that has to live with it. So if each person out there that goes through breast cancer that has a double mastectomy, that has to be 100% their decision, and they have to be completely confident in it. You don't want to ever, I admit it, I was always worried I would wake up one day and just be like, oh my gosh, what happened? I don't have breasts or whatever, but it's never happened. It's just never happened to me. And another thing I was thinking of when you were talking is I think something else that people aren't super familiar with is, whether you have a double mastectomy with reconstruction or without, most of the time, I think in all cases, you're not going to have feeling anymore in a good chunk of space on your chest.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think, oh, you'll get your new breast and it'll just be just like it was before, only they'll be more the size you want or whatever. They'll be more symmetrical, whatever. I'll get all these fixes and then I'll have these brand new awesome looking breasts. Yeah. But when you don't have any feeling on them, that sort of, can kill the mojo of the idea.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have feeling. It's weird too because they're cold. I don't know if. Oh, wow. Yeah, so you don't have because you don't have all the tissue and stuff to keep your body warm. So when it's really cold outside, your breasts just feel very cold.
Wow,
all
that's
the time.
Weird.
So it's really weird. And definitely that not having any kind of feeling is kind of odd. I used to joke because what else can you do in this type of situation but joke and just kind of go on with your life? But I used to run into stuff with my boobs, and I wouldn't even know it. I would run into people. I would run into doors. I'd run into people, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just totally hit you with my boob, and I did not mean to do that. But it's like
that's awesome.
You
sorry,
don't realize
I didn't feel
you have no feeling, anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. It's true though. Like I was saying, I didn't have reconstruction, so I just have nothing, right? I just have scars. And, you're talking about that your scar from the sentinel node biopsy is very sensitive. And it's not the scars that are sensitive on my chest, but it's my chest in general.
Yeah.
Even being almost 10 years out from that surgery, it'll be 10 years November 10th this year. Like I have a little 11-pound dog. She's really light. If she just walks across my chest, it hurts like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like the way I look at it is, when they do a double mastectomy, it's like they chop like that. And so you have these nerve endings that were like this, and now they're just chopped right here, and then they're just open. And I don't know if that's really what's happening, but that's what it feels like in my mind, is it's like these nerve endings are just raw right here, and they're just right here on my chest. And so that's why I wear prosthetics. I know a lot of women don't wear prosthetics, and actually on the broadcast tonight, we're going to give a little demo of my prosthetics. But I wear the prosthetics a lot because just it feels like they're protecting my chest more. Because if somebody elbows me, or I hit something, or whatever, or if my seatbelt is on me weird or whatever, then it actually hurts my chest. So I wear my prosthetics not only for the way they look visually, but also because it actually gives me some form of protection. So I kind of like that. But
yeah, I feel that way too. I wear a sports bra now. I don't wear just a regular bra anymore, because I just feel like it's like you want to protect, because it does hurt. I mean, we do have these nerves that are just like either coming back to life or something. I don't know what it is.
I don't know either.
But I have these pains, and sometimes they'll just be shooting. But I do know for me, when I start losing weight, some stuff starts changing, and I feel better.
That's good. That's awesome.
With all of that. But then, of course, people say, "Oh, well, you're going to get a free boob job out of this." Oh, and it's like, are you kidding me? No, like I want my old boobs back.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
not the same.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of women that when they go through breast cancer and have a double mastectomy, I think that getting a boob job is something that a lot of women look forward to. So I think it gives them like a burst of positive energy to be like, okay, all this bad stuff happened, but I'm going to be getting this extra out of it, kind of thing.
Right.
You kind of want something to look forward to, and I think it's okay, but the reality of it is, that you don't have that feeling, you don't get that feeling back, and I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that,
And to touch on that, I mean, April, I felt that way. I felt like, oh my gosh, at the end of this, maybe I'll have these amazing, perfect breasts. I had breastfed before, so of course, every woman kind of wants to look more beautiful, but it's never no matter how hard we try, unfortunately, because we've had cancer, and you can put an implant in there, but we still got the scars, we've still got the story behind it, and no matter how much you try to cover it up with anything, I mean, we're still going to have to deal with that. But also, it isn't exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it's just not exactly the same. I mean, my plastic surgeon is incredible. I mean, incredible. I am so happy. But if I could go, if I could change it and say I want my old boobs back, I would want my old boobs back.
Yeah, of course. You want yourself whole again like you were before.
But in the same note, too, I feel like I wouldn't change my journey, because everything that I've gone through has made me a stronger and a better person.
Right.
And to be able to be in a clinical trial and to bring awareness to triple negative breast cancer, to be able to be that vessel, I guess, to be able to just, help find a cure for other women out there.
Right.
That's my assignment,
Yes.
So
I mean, that I feel you there, because I feel like I have the same mission was brought to me as well, and starting Breast Cancer Can Stick It, years ago. So, I totally feel that. It's really cool that we've been able to take something that is so hard and so, negative, and turn it into a positive, and really better ourselves and hopefully help the community. We have a new perspective on life in general, which is amazing. I mean, you really can't explain it until you go through something like this as to how it changes the way you look at everything,
Everything,
It's crazy.
Everything.
Well, I see that we're at the top of the hour right now, but I do want to just ask you one thing, and I try to remember to ask this every year. First of all, I'm just so excited that you could come back again. It's always just such a pleasure to talk to you. You're just a great person, a great friend, and I know we don't get to talk very much, but I love chatting with you on this especially. This is one of my favorite things that we do every year at Breast Cancer.
I know, and
so cool.
I was just thinking about it as we're doing this, and it's like, this is the one time of year that I really get all this out.
Yeah.
So it's so therapeutic for me. So
well, I'm glad.
I'm really like just grateful to be able to be here and to help raise awareness.
We're really,
so thank
really
you.
thankful to have you. So if there was one thing that you could tell somebody who is newly diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, what would you tell them?
Whew, hold on.
I know,
it's gonna
man.
be a lot.
We'll hold on. We're
it's
ready.
like, hold
We're
on.
ready.
I would tell them it's going to be hard and that you're going to come out the other end a stronger, a better person, and to just hang on to your faith. Hang on to your faith.
I think those are...
And to walk in faith.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's great advice. Courtney, I love you, man. So freaking good to see you. Okay, hang out, watch the broadcast from the comfort of your home there. We got another triple negative breast cancer survivor coming up. Tracy will be coming up here in a little bit. Dr. O will be on later this evening. So thank you so much for joining. I love you, girl, okay?
Love you too.
Take care.
Bye.
Man, she is a rock star. Wow. Love that girl.